Um, Dear Arindam, you are very welcome to Nai Duniya, and I think what you will bring to this channel is very precious by way of insights of Rabindra Nath Tagore, who is very much respected and honored in India, and whose momentous work has given a direction to our country at the national level. He wrote the national anthem of India, and not only to India, but his work has given direction to the whole world. And you have studied him, you come from Bengal, you have done IIT from Kharagpur some 35 years ago, and now you are in Houston, but still you are connected to Rabindra Nath Tagore and the Tagore Center there in Houston. So you're very welcome to Nai Duniya. Let's begin by talking a little bit about Tagore. Being a Bengali, who are all, from my experiences in Bengal, I found people are really in love with the music that Tagore gave them, the literature and the arts. Rabindra Sangeet is still very popular in Bengal. So what are your impressions on Rabindranath Tagore? What do you think of him? What do you think of his work? What's his importance for India and for the world?
Well, that's the problem in a sense. Means Tagore was a prolific artist in the true sense. He was a story writer, he was a poet, he was a musician, he was a painter, he created his own dance form and dance dramas, but more than that, he was a very renowned thinker, and not only a thinker, and an actor on the social field. And his vision was all globally and all world embracing. He did not was not satisfied with the binary things, east and west. So his belief was in the universal man, and how man can create from his surplus. What he called surplus is whatever, some energy we have to expend to maintain our body, our daily life, but anything other than that is the surplus. And with that creative surplus, from that creative surplus comes the functioning of the true man, his imagination and his creativity. And
so interestingly, he named his institution Visva-Bharati, which is now popularly known as Santiniketan, means abode of peace. But what does Visva-Bharati mean?
Yeah, so actually he created three institutions which is separate. So Santiniketan is the abode of peace, so that's the school. So that's for, but that school not only for academic learning, it's for spiritual learning, to bring out the youth, the children's true creative spirit. He did not believe in this school where people are who still are continuing that rote memory system. Somebody will come and the children will sit and will teach them. So he considered that as a prison. So he wanted children to learn by doing, by being one with nature, learning through play, jumping, moving, by their own experimentation. And the role of the teacher was just a facilitator. And in the Baha'i Faith also we have children's classes, so which actually will benefit from studying this, how Tagore wanted to teach the children, because we have some core ideas, but we don't have the procedure, the methods. Those methods are still to be developed on how to teach the children.
Mode of learning always as
Yes.
the Baha'i community. So we are experimenting throughout the world with this children classes, junior youth empowerment program, and we are learning, and what we learn we add. And the wonderful thing is that it's not a local program. It is being implemented throughout the world for the last 25 years or so, and then the insights that have been gained from that they are put together in the whole program again, and it goes to the whole world again. So whether it is in the developed nations like Canada or Australia, or in the villages of India or rural areas of Africa, whatever learning takes place is gathered, collected and shared again. What is valuable in that is shared throughout the world. Definitely learning in the lap of nature and with utmost peace in our mind, that would be most fruitful, as I've seen in Santiniketan.
Yeah.
And you have mentioned a very valuable insight. Thank you.
But coming back to your original question, so Santiniketan was the place to teach the individual. But then again, just like in the Baha'i Faith, we know there's the individual and the community. The individual cannot flourish without the community around it. And when Tagore started his school, so he realized that, so his full idea of the school was that the school will serve the community that is around it. So the education of the children will be in conjunction with the economic and material uplift of the villages around it. So that's why he established the other school, which is called Santiniketan.
Okay.
That is the village rural development program that he had.
Oh, we had no clue about that.
So again, you see the linkages of that, how it needs to develop, and which is complete in conformity with what the Baha'is are trying to do. But then, so these are the two basic fundamental blocks. Then comes the Visva-Bharati, where the world comes to nest in a sense. So that is where, because the Tagore didn't believe in the binary of the East and the West, so he started this place as an universal global exchange of views. So where the Western people will come, we will learn from them, and they will learn from us. So this universal exchange of ideas, which is necessary for the progress of the globe.
Very much so.
So
the East and the West must come together for the progress of humankind.
So that's why these are the three institutions. But Visva-Bharati is where all these children will mature, and then they'll go into this university where they will truly become as a creative man. So that was his vision, and he called Visva-Bharati his. Basically, for those who are from the Bengali background knows about the poem, the Shonar Tori, where he says at the end that he has given all his life to create this, and he is living, bequeathing it to the society. So that was Visva-Bharati, was his gift to the world. And actually, interestingly, like he bequeathed this, he asked Gandhi in 1940.
Yes.
To take care of this.
He went
gift.
to Delhi, and there was some play performance, and then I think he ran out of money or something, and Mahatma Gandhi helped him.
That may be, but this was like because he knew he was dying, so he wanted to entrust this to someone who would preserve his ideals, preserve the university, guarantee that it will function.
Okay.
And Gandhi accepted it. Unfortunately, he also died not soon after. But talking of that, Jawaharlal Nehru, he had basically two gurus. He said one is Gandhi, and one is Tagore. Gandhi was his political guru, but Tagore was really his philosophical guru. His mind was more in tune with Tagore than with Gandhi. Thinking the
one part maybe you would touch upon is the spiritual foundation. I think in all his writings, Gitanjali, for example, which if I remember it right, Yeats, the great English poet, said a verse of Gitanjali is more pregnant with wisdom than the whole of English literature. and he helped Tagore to get a Nobel Prize. The
Well, that yeah. So that also there is a lot of myth. Coming back to Tagore means everything from Tagore was based on love, as we also know from the Baha'i Faith. The Abdu'l-Baha says, and Baha'u'llah says, love is the governing principle for everybody. Tagore also said, no, love is the ultimate meaning of everything around us. It is not a mere sentiment. It is truth. It is the joy that is at the root of all creation.
Oh, really? Uh-huh.
So Tagore felt, all his life, everything of that Tagore wrote is divinely inspired, which is that you cannot separate Tagore from his God, which is the universal God. But when he was 17, he had this awakening. He wrote a very
Yes.
famous poem as the Waking Up, which is in Bengali called Nircharer Shapnobhango. So that time he realized the creative spirit inside him, and he all his life, all his works was a dialogue between his spirit and this universal spirit. So a single person didn't help him win the Nobel Prize. Actually, means the Nobel Prize really became international when they gave Tagore the Nobel Prize. So it's not because previous to that it was just a Western prize. Once they acknowledged the Tagore's writings, then it really became international. And also there was the one misconception is that he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Gitanjali. No, he was awarded it for his entire body of English writing.
Yes,
there are a lot
that's
of
true.
people. There are a lot of people in the Nobel Committee. There was one person who actually has read his writings in Bengal, in the committee. So, it may have helped him a little bit, but he cannot claim the credit for the Nobel.
Definitely no. The writings of Tagore were I mean, that was the award for the insights and the wonderful things he did, and the vision he created for the world. That was the point, not really the Gitanjali only or Yeats only. You are very right in that. So let's talk about his connection with the Baha'i Faith. So you see that we discuss a few things. For example, children's moral classes, we discussed about empowerment program, we discussed about rural development and the education for the purpose of serving community. These are very common things. Also the global vision, Vishwa means the globe, and then his poetry, which was very spiritual in nature, based on prayer and meditation. A lot of things which are very common, and he implemented that so well in Santiniketan.
And the one important thing where Tagore's vision matches with the Baha'i Faith is this: he was against this militant nationalism.
Okay.
Because that was just like Abdu'l-Baha, he predicted the world war. Means he said that
Tagore,
means people are piling up armaments, it is going to blow up. Not exactly in the same order, but his writings caution of about worshipping the nation instead of worshipping the human spirit.
Oh, that's so well said. Very beautiful.
And but while talking, so there are a lot of similarities. Abdu'l-Baha was like 15 years. He was born in 1844. Tagore was born in 1861. So there are a lot of similarities. Personally, I believe that this is the spiritual currents that came through the manifestation of God Baha'u'llah, which affected everybody in the world, including Tagore, and depending on the spiritual resonance that he had, he derived most of it himself from the universal inspiration that came. Tagore himself owning three strands very strongly in him. One is the Hindu Upanishads and the Sufis. Both of them learned from his father.
Brahmo Samaj had a role to
From
play.
his father, Rabindra Nath Tagore,
Yes,
was
yes.
one of the founders of the Brahmo Samaj. So, from the childhood, he had intimate knowledge of the Sufi writings as well as the Upanishads. And then, as he grew up, he learned the science of the from the West, and he was always. Another similarity with the Baha'i faith means he basically believed of the harmony of science and religion. So his school was inspired by the spiritual principles, but he was fully engaged. He himself wrote a lot of texts, science texts for the to teach the children. But we would focus on a little bit about what were the exact connections and contacts.
That would be very
contacts between the Baha'is and the Tagore.
Okay.
Whether he exactly, whether and how much he wrote of the actual writings of the Baha'i faith, we don't know. But we have I saw him mentioning about the Baha'i faith is in 1910, September 1910. That's before his Nobel Prize. So what happened was that he had a magazine called Prabashi, which he used to edit, and so he corrected his actually his brother's daughter-in-law. Her name was Hemlata Devi, and she translated the writings, the talk that Ethel Rosenberg gave. In
Bengali?
Yeah, the talk Ethel Rosenberg gave in the 17th Universal Peace Congress in London Hall in 1908.
Okay.
She translated that. And Tagore writes a letter saying that I have corrected a whole lot of it. It may even be my writing on that manuscript that's published in Prabashi in 1910, and. So Hemlata Devi actually met Martha Root when she came in 1937.
A prominent Baha'i teacher, Martha Root.
Yes.
Okay.
And so she was reporting to her that she has translated a lot of Baha'i writings for children, which I haven't been able to locate yet, the actual things that she translated. But that is the time when 1937, when Martha Root was visiting Tagore. He also said that, I met Abdu'l-Baha in 1912. He invited me to go to Haifa, and but I this and that, this work and that work, I couldn't go. And then I heard that he has. But in between there was a lot of contact. So 1910 we saw that also. We know that when Zarqani was traveling through giving talks, he talked at the Brahmo Samaj. That was even before 1910. So Tagore may have heard that as well. Another interesting thing prior to 1912 was Tagore's son, Rabindra Nath. He came and studied at Urbana-Champaign, Illinois, and they had that time Albert Bell was running the Unity Club, who later met Abdu'l-Baha in 1912 and became a very well-known Baha'i. So he was running the Unity Club there, and
Where?
In Urbana-Champaign, Illinois University.
Illinois.
Yeah, and Farid came and talked about the hidden words in that club. So there were a lot of commonalities. So even before, Rabindra Nath Tagore knew about the Baha'i faith as well. So he may have communicated some of it to his father as well, probably.
So his first contact with the Baha'i faith?
1910 is when he was translating. 1937 was at the end. 1910 is when he translated Ethel Rosenberg's talk. So that is definitive contact, in the at least in the literary
Ethel
sense.
was a Baha'i.
Huh?
Ethel was a Baha'i?
Yeah.
No, she was a Baha'i.
Yeah, Ethel was, Rosenberg was a Baha'i.
Ethel was a Baha'i, okay.
Yeah, so she gave a talk in the London Hall, which has been a very famous talk. Means it was used a whole lot in publishing the faith in the Europe and the United States.
Oh,
so
okay.
this is all before Abdu'l-Baha's visit to the United States.
Okay.
So Tagore knew about Abdu'l-Baha even then. Then 1912 he met him in Chicago.
Okay.
After that, what happened was that Abdu'l-Baha sent Lua Getzinger and Mrs. Stannard. They were at Visva-Bharati for a while, for a period. And what exactly they did there, we don't know yet. That has to be researched. But between 1912 and 1916, both of them were there in the Visva-Bharati. And then, so then Abdu'l-Baha heard that Tagore is, Tagore first came and in that 1912 period, at that time, he gave talks in the University of that Urbana-Champaign as well. And interestingly, he started writing sadhana, which is one of the spiritual
meditation.
It's about the human spirit, what does it mean to be a human, etc. At that time, in 1912. But then 1916 he was going to come again. That is the time when Abdu'l-Baha sent a tablet to the believers in the US saying that Tagore has helped Mrs. Stannard a lot and please help him during his tour. But just like the tablets of the divine plan, due to the World War and all, that letter never reached the Baha'is in the US, so they had no clue that Abdu'l-Baha told that. So this letter, then Juliet Thompson later gave to Tagore when he came in 1930.
Oh, how sweet.
But after that, so Tagore probably didn't meet any Baha'is in the 1916 in the US, but he met Agnes Alexander in Japan when he went to Japan. We don't have the record. We have a picture with her. We don't know what were the conversations between them, if any. But when 1930. When Tagore came here, and then in between there are a lot of activities. There was a professor called Giles Germanus in Visva-Bharati who was heading the Muslim studies section, and he met Abdu'l-Baha when Abdu'l-Baha was touring Hungary. So, and there are articles and things about the Baha'i Faith in the Visva-Bharati quarterly in between periods of time.
In Bengali?
No, in English.
In English?
Yeah.
It came through a talk by Ethel Rosenberg that she had given in London. And what was the occasion, Arindam?
Universal Peace Congress.
Okay. And this talk was translated into Bengali by Tagore himself.
By one of his brother's daughter-in-law.
Okay. And that was published in the journal that he used to bring out.
Right.
So that was the first contact, and he came to know about the Baha'i Faith, and he appreciated it, probably. And after that, in 1912, he met Abdu'l-Baha in Chicago, in a hotel, probably.
Yeah, that was what has been surmised by comparing their itineraries. Of the travel, but it's not confirmed exactly where and what they talked about.
And if we go forward, then Abdu'l-Baha praised Tagore in some of the letters and told the...
Right, so he told that he's doing wonderful work, and so he encouraged Stannard and Getzinger to emphasize that spiritual education should also be given along with material education, which Tagore himself knew, but it's just re-emphasized.
Yes. And then, so from 1912, if we move forward, then two prominent Baha'is, Lua Gestinger and
Mrs. Stannard.
Stannard. They came to Visva-Bharati and they stayed there for a few months or whatever period of time.
Right.
Okay. I also heard that Tagore wanted to establish a chair for Baha'i studies. in
Yeah,
Santiniketan.
that is one of the conversations with Pritam Singh. I have heard that he mentioned that.
Oh, it was a conversation with Pritam Singh.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we are talking about the period of 1910 to 1940
Yes.
when Tagore passed on.
But 1930, when he visited the United States, he was given that tablet from presented that tablet from Abdu'l-Baha, and he gave a talk where he mentions Baha'u'llah. So
Tagore gave a talk.
yes, and I don't know if we have time, but it would be wonderful to
You can read it, please.
read the full talk.
Please do
I
it.
think it would be valuable because nobody will go and find this.
Yes,
talk.
please.
So this
This is a talk by Rabindra Nath
by
Tagore that you are going
Rabindra
to
Nath
read.
Tagore given in 1930.
Okay, let's hear that, please.
So the first and last prophets of Persia. In the beginning of our history, when individuals gathered together not as a crowd but as a community, they instinctively realized a mysterious source of power in this meeting. They felt that it was not a mere obvious fact represented by a number, but a truth that could not be measured, counted, and analyzed. It was an energizing force that was creative and according to the degree of perfection in the solidarity of such gathering. It spontaneously gave rise to a richness of social life and the beauty and wisdom that found innumerable channels of expression. This ineffable spirit of unity is the fundamental truth of creation. When, in our scientific curiosity to probe the mystery of appearance, we snap the bond of relationship, the appearance itself vanishes. And what remains is some abstract mathematical formula, invisible, intangible, unimaginable. At a certain stage of the analysis of things, all that remains is named as protons and electrons, logically proving their unsubstantial existence, but not the existence of what appears in its wholeness as the rock or flower, you or me. Some great mystery of unity binds this into individual form and character and relates them to all things far and near, and such immensity of facts held together by an infinite spirit of unity manifests its creative purpose in various forms and movements. In the human world, the great truth of unity was also at first realized as a power residing in the community, comprehending and transcending all individuals. This mysterious power, according to the primitive people, was magical, and they symbolized it in their totems and tried to invoke and propitiate it with their magical rites. This was the first great discovery of man. The mysterious spirit of unity, which was beyond the bounds of quantity that can be measured, and this is religion. But as I have already suggested, religion in its first appearance had the aspect of power, which, though it gave unity to the tribe itself, created a strong division outside of it. For power is exclusive, and the tribe claimed its God as the source of all powers for its own benefit. So long as God remained as thus divided, religion became cruel and terribly unjust, creating more mischief in this world than any passion that is criminal. Even today, when God is no longer believed to be specially belonging to the tribe, he is fenced in by sectarianism, which gives rise to a fierce spirit of dissension and egotistical boastfulness. Truth, when tortured and mutilated, becomes more heinous than untruth. And therefore, when unbelievers bring proofs of the harm that religion has done to man, we cannot but remain silent. It is the mission of all great prophets to see that religion, which is to give us spiritual emancipation, should not itself be made a fetter to immure our soul in a dungeon of dogma and formalism.
Yeah, that is beautiful. If I understand it right, let's have a bit of reflection on what Tagore has said. That there is a great force in the universe, which is love, and then it tries to bring the people together, and this force generates the creative endeavor to develop humankind. And this inspiration perhaps comes from what we call God or the Creator.
Yeah, he is telling what we always, because Baha'u'llah brought this principle of unity, and he is expressing the same principle that, just like Abdu'l-Baha said, if a religion cannot unite, it is better not to have religion.
Okay.
So he's telling the same thing, but we are
very beautifully, very deeply expressed.
Yeah.
That actually this whole the love in this creation to create unity, but if religion becomes a cause of disunity and discord, it is better to be without such a religion. So he's talking about how religion became the cause of division and conflicts in society. Okay.
So dungeon of dogma and formalism giving rise to sectarian vanity that obscures our vision of the spiritual unity of man. The first prophet whom we know in the history of man was Zoroaster, who preached God as the universal truth of unity, the eternal source of goodness and love. And it is significant that in the same soil of Persia which gave birth to him arose the other great prophet of the modern age, Baha'u'llah, who also preached God as profoundly one in all races, tribes and sects, the true worship of whom consists in service that has reason for its guide and goodness and love for its inner motive principle. We are here tonight to offer our homage to Baha'u'llah. He is the latest prophet to come out of Asia. His life is certainly a glorious record of unflinching human search after truth, and his message is of great importance for the progress of civilization.
Oh, great. So he acknowledges that Baha'u'llah is the universal prophet, and his mission is to create love, unity, service.
Yeah. And he gave this talk at the Ahmad Surab's group at that time, which, as you know, by that time has kind of broken off from the actual Baha'i Faith. But that's why he was telling that we are here to pay homage to Baha'u'llah, because he was giving the talk to a Baha'i gathering.
Oh, that's very clear. I mean, he completely understood the mission of Baha'u'llah and expressed it in very beautiful words, to say the least. And what other associations can you think of Tagore with the Baha'i faith?
So these are the points that I have found, and the further research really needs to be done in Kolkata, which unfortunately I cannot do really that well from Houston, so I'm looking for other people. But I think that is academic. I think there is a lot of scope, as I was telling about, to actually implement the Tagore's vision of education, which is a little more developed further. Meaning in the Baha'i Faith we have general principles, we haven't figured out how really to teach the children yet. And if we go look to Tagore and his ideas about how to bring up a children along with nature. So maybe I should get a little bit of Tagore's thought on how to bring up the children, and then I think going forward, rather than what he said about the past, it is even more important what we can do with Tagore in the future. And that is the one reason I am also working with the Tagore Foundation in Houston, because I have in mind is that we need to develop more material on how to teach the children. So when he talks about education, he says, India has proved that it has its own mind, which has been deeply concerned to solve according to its light the problems of existence. India's aim in education is to enable this mind to fulfill its quest in its own individual way. So he is talking about that's what he perceived India's role should be. Whether we are able to do that, you are still following the Western model, so we really haven't implemented his vision. So For this purpose, the mind of India must become organized and self-aware. Then only will it accept education from its teachers in the right spirit, assess it by its own standard of values, and make use of it by its own creative power. The fingers must be held close to take as well as to give. When we bring scattered minds into coordinated activity, they will become receptive as well as creative, and the waters of life will cease to slip through the gaps and soften the ground beneath. In education, the most important factor is an atmosphere of creative activity, in which the work of intellectual exploration may find full scope. The teaching should be like the overflow water of a spring of culture, spontaneous and inevitable.
Beautiful.
Education becomes natural and wholesome only when it is the fruit of a living and growing knowledge. Further, our education should be in constant touch with our complete life, economic, intellectual, aesthetic, social and spiritual. And our schools should be at the very heart of our society, connected with it by the living bonds of varied cooperation. For true education is to realize at every step how our training and knowledge have an organic connection with our surroundings.
That's very beautiful, how education can transform individuals and the environment around them. And the wonderful thing that he has talked about, I have done a little experiment in my own way. I call it the developmental approach to teaching. And I have tried to combine the strengths of the Indian guru with the strengths of the Western teacher. So one of the things that he also mentions are the values, which were very strong in the Indian education system. And the guru was the epitome of all good and good values. And the students would go to him and learn at his feet, so to say, because he was a spiritual giant. He was almost he reflected a lot of divine qualities in him, which could be imbibed by the students, and that is very important point even Tagore is making. Now, as far as the Western education is concerned, the teacher is a facilitator. And the thing there is that, the Western teacher is not a dictator. He is not dictatorial. He is encouraging people to learn at their own pace, and he helps them. He is So these two, if they can come together, these two models, a new model would emerge. And I think in the Baha'i experiments with education, we see this. Actually, it is for the community and from the community. The Baha'i education system stems from the needs of the community. It is not, something which is imposed from the top. It is for those who are desirous of learning. They are brought together and helped in their learning, and there is a universal curriculum which is both Eastern and Western, which has the values that are needed to give to our children, and also the skills that the Western system focuses on, developing the skills, you see. And not only that, then in the Baha'i education system, the people who are receiving the education, as they continue to grow, they educate others, and also they involve themselves into service projects. They go and teach others what they have learnt, and they become an shining example of transformation in their character, and the other people see and get attracted, and they also learn from that.
Other quotes, one of them is that education must enable every child to understand and fulfill this purpose of the age, not defeat it by acquiring the habit of creating divisions and cherishing national prejudices. There are, of course, natural differences in human races which should be preserved and respected, and the task of our education should be to realize unity in spite of them.
That's wonderful. That's so much needed in India today. That what is the purpose of education? Not to divide, but to unite.
To discover truth through the wildness of their contradiction. I guess something we say that conflicting opinions bring out the truth. Then education is, in a real sense, the breaking of the shackles of individual narrowness. The highest aim of education should be to help the realization of the unity. but not of uniformity. Uniformity is unnatural. A sound educational system should provide for the development of variety without losing the hold on the basic of spiritual unity. So, you said you tried, but I think, and also if you know our friend Peter Torrey, he is also very much interested in this. On how to take these ideas of Tagore, because there's a lot of educational thinking that he has done which has relevance.
Huge experiment he has made from which we can learn so much.
And that is the point, is that we cannot keep Tagore shackled as a picture in the wall and a famous poet. He was much more than that. And and we need him in India at this point of time.
Oh yes, very much so.
And so that's what
he wrote our national anthem.
Yeah, yeah, but the national anthem is fine. But yeah, we need to pay attention to his other aspects, as is the philosopher Tagore and the work of Tagore.
Yes, yes, true. So thank you very much, Arindam. That's a wonderful discussion, and you read some bit of Tagore's talk and also some of his writings on education. And since and there are many meeting points between the Baha'i Faith and Tagore, and they all focus on unity of humankind, not on uniformity, but unity in diversity, as we say in India. I think we need to go back to Tagore and the inspiring teachings of the Baha'i Faith to create a better civilization. Well, thank you very much. I'm sure our listeners would be greatly benefited from this small presentation. And we look forward to talk to you more on similar topics. Thank you very much.